All right, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be here today, so I would like you to do this Edpuzzle, and then I'm going to give you a student-paced Nearpod for homework to get you ready for the benchmark on Thursday. So go ahead and take a look at this, and just first, right away, give me the slope of this graph. If you look at it properly, we're going here. This is also a coordinate right here. Down 3 over 4. Down 3 over 4. If you didn't see that right away, could you have done this? Gone down 6 over 8? Wouldn't that be the same answer? Isn't down 3 over 4, which is correct, the same as down 6 over 8? Just you would have to reduce it, okay? So the same thing, all right? So that's interesting. Okay, cool. All right, let's keep going along. I have a lot with this one. All right, we're going to move on a little bit. We did parts of this in class, and I want to make sure you know how to do this properly. Could you give me the whole equation of this graph? Forget about what it says, how long it takes to the beach. I want to know the entire equation. What is the entire equation of this graph? What is the y equals something x plus or minus something, okay? All right. And if you did this properly, even if you want to use this coordinate here, which I would, and then all the way to here, you are going to be at, we obviously know it's plus 300. That's our y-intercept. Okay. And then we're going to be going down 300 over 5. Down 300 over 5. Interesting. Down 300 over 5. 5 goes into 300. I know it's 3. 5 goes into 36 times. So I'm thinking this is going to be negative. If you didn't know, use your calculator. There we go. Okay, let's keep going. We did this one together. I'm going to move on through this. We did a lot of this. Ooh, how about this one? What number would create an equation that would give you infinitely many solutions? Okay, go for it on this. And as I look at this, I make sure I distribute, right? And I get 6c plus 4c plus 60 equals 10c plus, well, I know infinite means both sides are exactly the same. So this is going to be 10c plus 60. So if this is 10c, I must have to have 60 in there for both sides to be exactly the same, for it to be infinite, right? Because no solutions just means that the variables are the same, but not the constants on both sides, okay? Cool. Ooh, try this one, guys. What do you do first? Remember, you got to handle your fractions. Handle your fractions first. Go ahead and change them to like denominators, and then move your letters to the left, numbers to the right, and try to solve the rest of this for me, okay? All right, I'm going to change it over to this side, which will be easier for me to manipulate the problem. And let me move this up a little. Okay. So when I look at this, I know that I have to get this fraction to change to be over 4. So what does 1/2 look like when it's over 4? It's going to be 2/4, right? 2/4 b minus 25 equals 3/4 b minus 45, right? And that's a b. You're using your notebook, please. Don't just try to write it. You're using your notebook to finish this Edpuzzle. So now I'm going to add 25 to both sides. So this is going to be negative 45 and positive 25. I'm going to get negative 20, correct? Then, I know I always say letters to the left first, but we know we have to do that. So we just did it. That's fine. Now let's go ahead and subtract 3/4 from 2/4. We're going to move this over, right? Move this over to this side. And what's 2 minus 3? This 2/4 minus 3/4. That's going to equal negative 1/4 b equals negative 20. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and attack this. So we have to get rid of a negative 1/4, right? Because it's being multiplied times b. That's the math that's happening. So negative 1/4 is being multiplied times b. So how do you get rid of it? You have to divide negative 1/4 to both sides. This is a 5th, 6th grade problem. If you forgot how to divide fractions, YouTube it, Google it. YouTube or Google is the best help for you when sometimes you can just type in a standard, how to divide fractions, and it'll do a quick review for it. But if you do remember, we change this to a multiplication. That's just a little dot now. And what do we do with we flip, right? We flip this fraction. So that's negative 20 times 4 over negative 1. And it doesn't matter which side the negative is. We obviously see that it's a negative times a negative. So your answer will be a positive. And then that's going to be 80. Final answer is 80. All right. That was a lot. I know. That was a lot. It's all good. You can handle this. All right. Let me make sure I give you some good ones now. Let's move on. Oh, okay. I like this. Solve for r. Go for it. Get r all by itself. If I'm doing this properly, I'm going to subtract 2s first. So I'm going to have c minus 2s equals 3r. And there's a couple ways you can do this last part. Remember, I can divide it by 3, and I can divide everything by 3, and that's okay. Or to make it a little cleaner with this one, you're not doing any y mxb kind of problems. This would be what r equals, okay? You got rid of the r's there. Now that's what r equals. C minus 2s, all divided by 3. All right, you can handle those. I don't need to go into that. This one's good to notice how to handle when you look at this. See how x and f of x, shouldn't this be y? And I literally want you to cross it out and put y, okay? But you can just think of this as, this is function f, right? We're going to call this one f. And then if you look at this one, look at the bottom one. We're going to cross this out. We're going to put y in its place. But we're going to call this function g, okay? So let me go over this again. You have an x and you have f of x. Whenever you see function of x, that means that all that means is function notation. That's how they do it. And this just means y. That means this is your input. This is your output. This is your input. This is your output, okay? Now, what is happening with this? So if you look at this table, first of all, this function's already done. You know what the slope is. You know what the y-intercept is. Now, let's take a look at it and say, okay, what do I do with this table? Well, you tear the table up. You make sure you figure out, what is this table? What's happening? And I'm going to go 7 minus 23, 0 minus 4, okay? So then 7 minus 23 is going to be 16, negative. Try to make the negative sign a little better, goodness gracious. And then negative 4. 2 negatives makes a positive, so now I have y equals positive 4x. I see my cheat code when x is 0. Whatever y is my y-intercept, right? Again, make sure you understand that. Whenever your x is 0, that's your y-intercept. This is your y-intercept, positive 7. And let's make sense of it. If I plug in 0 for x, 4 times 0 is 0. But they're telling me y must be 7, so obviously I have to add 7. So here's my equation. Look at them both. What do I know? Are the y-intercepts the same? No, this is 5, this is 7. Are the y-intercepts opposite? No, this is 5, this is 7. Are the slopes the same? Yes. And I would keep reading just to make sure. Are the slopes opposite? Obviously not. Okay. So do the best you can on these. I know they're a little challenging, but they're good. They're good questions. We already did one like that. No solution would mean that both sides are going to be 9. So this is going to turn into 9m, and this will be 55. So literally you can put any number in the world on this side except for 55. And if you get that, good job. You're ahead of the game. You know how to do that. We just did one like that. Oh, okay. So now we're going to wrap this part up. And I only want to give you one more question to make sure you get what's happening. All right, this isn't what I want. So hold on one second. Oh, okay. So this question I'm going to ask you, my question to you is what it says up here. How long would it take for the water tank to be empty? And we did one like this last week at some point. How long would it take for this water tank to empty? As it's emptying, how long would it take to empty? Now, as I look at this, remember, I'm going to extend this line. You could do that. That would help a little bit. Oops, sorry. And then I could extend this line. So you can kind of get an idea of when does it actually touch here. That's our actual answer. But if you wanted to do it really like mathematically to be super precise, which I love that my honors kiddos are like that, you need to understand that, okay, what's my actual slope? What's the pattern that's happening here? Right? What's going on here? I'm going down 5 over 1, down 5 over 1, down 5 over 1. So if I literally wanted to do this as a equation, this is how I could do it. Y equals down 5 over 1 x, and what's my y-intercept? Plus 30. Now, oops, run out of room, plus 30. The question is, what is it at when it's at 0? This is my water level. How long would it take you to get to 0? And I know it's getting a little messy here, so let me go ahead and back it up a little. Let me try to clean this up. Plus 30. So the question is, how long would it take to get this to 0? Well, what would I have to multiply here to get it to 0? And if you notice, negative 5 times 6 is going to be negative 30. Negative 30 plus 30 is going to give you your 0 number. And what if you just kept following this along? I'm pretty sure that this would be around 5, and this would be around 6. If you did it visually, that's okay. All right, and that was a little weird type question. It's okay, you can handle that. All right, my last question for you before I send you off on the Nearpod is just making sure you remember how to turn an equation. What if I said 3x and I said, go ahead and graph this? How would you go about graphing this? Okay. What if I said, just put it in slope-intercept form? What would it look like? Okay, there's my question for you. Let's see if you can handle it. Now, let's go for it. Subtract 3x to both sides. Okay. Now I have 5y equals negative 3x. I'm going to put it right there. Okay. I'm putting it there. I'm putting it here because I know that I'm turning it into slope-intercept form. I'm turning it into this form, so get where the x is. Get it, okay? Remember I made my joke? You got to kick your x's out of the party. All right? Now let's divide 5. All right? And then 5 into 20. And guess what? There is your answer. You can handle this. All right, guys? Do the best you can on the Nearpod, and then always ask me questions if you need to. Let's get our grades up as well. Okay, grades are going to be due this week.